Hi, thank you for joining me for this video discussing a mental health concern around gaming addiction, or otherwise known as internet gaming disorder. The reasons for the gaming footage in the background, it's well, why not? Because this is something I enjoy. This is kind of what this channel has previously been dedicated to, and really just these mental health kind of talks and discussions really are largely just around kind of raising awareness, as now these videos are now becoming monetized to raise money for mental health charities, so why not discuss mental health issues. So the first one of which I'll be discussing is internet gaming disorder, or internet addiction, or gaming addiction, whatever you want to call it. And unfortunately, yep, us guys are the most prone to this, unfortunately, so I guess equally you're probably going to be the most likely ones watching this, which again is kind of cool as well, so that I'm kind of two birds in one stone, and educating you and doing something quite helpful for charities as well. So first of all, the internet game disorder is now being put into the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders. So this is basically kind of what all mental professionals use as their kind of their Bible for defining really what a mental health concern is. It's the main thing it's gathered together for research, and it defines internet game disorder as gamers who play compulsively to the exclusion of other interests, and their persistent and recurrent online activity results in clinically significant impairment or distress. People with this condition endanger their academic or job functioning because of amount of time they spend playing. They experience symptoms of withdrawal when pulled away from gaming. So again, the kind of key thing there is clinical, clinically significant. So we're talking kind of high-end, very kind of challenging kind of symptomology kind of coming out of that. So again, extreme levels of anxiety, depression, physical symptoms where people get physically ill because of withdrawal symptoms. But I guess on a bit more of a real day-to-day kind of aspect, I think that's kind of really what I want to discuss. The bit more what matters to you and I, kind of the susceptibility, and actually kind of when do I kind of know that I'm kind of getting something that's a little bit more than fun now, and actually it's becoming something I've become a little bit more obsessive over. And I guess that's kind of how I'm going to talk about internet addiction or gaming addiction today. So to start off with, what's the appeal about the internet and gaming and such like this? So since kind of the likes of World of Warcraft, Legend of Mir, Lineage, Guild Wars, these massive multiplayer online RPGs, there's kind of this huge immersion kind of aspect to it, where if I'm a teenage lad with low self-esteem and socially awkward, I don't get on with people face to face, I can jump onto a game where I can be a top-end warrior, mage, damage dealer, healer, part of a massive group of people, and actually they really value me for what I can contribute to them. It doesn't matter what I look like, it doesn't matter what I do, what I think, how I feel, but ultimately within that group I'm really useful, and that can be massively self-esteem building, and actually there's something very addictive in that itself, that I feel needed and wanted and actually part of that group, and it almost becomes part of my community, part of my social identity of being this person. Within kind of a lot of these free to play things, you get complaints about pay to win, people who want to win, they want to strive and be the best, but equally again of the level of detail that you can go into to create an avatar, a digital you. PlayStation had the PlayStation Home, I can't even remember what it was, Life or whatever it is. Arma 3 on the PC has got the Artist Life, and how many people get so addicted into that, so kind of creating another life for themselves, to the sense that they can manage police force and they're playing out scenarios with each other for fun mainly, but again there's that level of immersion kind of as part of that. I've got some footage on here from Total War Kingdoms, but kind of other games, kind of like Clash of Clans, Candy Crush, I know Settlers Online and such like this, these what are called kind of browser-based games, that kind of you have to start something building and then wait 20 minutes for it to finish before you can kind of set something else, or to the sense of building starships that take 36 hours, and it's kind of your preoccupation on gathering resources and checking on your kingdoms and stuff like this. So there's obviously a great big pull to the virtual world. The fact is, I'm 28 years old. I have a mobile phone. If I lose that mobile phone, I experience sensations of anxiety because I want to remain connected to the world because of kind of the information I store within that, and also, what information I can get back. So there's a great appeal already kind of to the internet and kind of gaming world. I guess the other side is, again, there's going to always be the abuse side, which again we can talk about cyberbullying. I think in another video. I think that'll actually be something I really should kind of talk about, because of the level of detachment that can be experienced within the virtual world. Particularly, again, I can send a message out there, post something on Twitter, which again it seems to be a bit more of a on the increase for people kind of now being prosecuted for internet-based kind of racism, and or other kind of persecutory kind of beliefs, to and other kind of negative things, from cyberbullying to kind of other prejudices and kind of negative use of, I guess, what is well-intended media, really. So, okay, next thing, the research. Kind of what does the research say? What will the big scientists say? So, doing kind of a bit of online research, the first person I have found to be described as the world's kind of foremost cyber psychologist was a Dr. Kimberly Young, and they devised a 8-question kind of self-test, as it were, for online gaming addiction. So the first question was, do you need to play online games with increasing amounts of time in order to achieve the desired level of excitement? So yes or no kind of questions. The second, are you preoccupied with gaming? So do you think about it when you're offline or when you're not playing? Have you lied to friends and family members to conceal the extent of your online gaming? Or do you feel restless or irritable when attempting to cut down or stop online gaming? Another question is, have you made repeated unsuccessful efforts to control or cut back or stop online gaming? And do you use gaming as a way of escaping from problems or relieve feelings of helplessness, guilt, anxiety or depression? Have you jeopardized or lost a significant relationship or jeopardize educational or career opportunities? And if you can answer yes to any of these, supposedly, Kimberly Young says, you may have an addiction, which some of those include me, and I am a highly functional, mental health professional. I have had kind of mental health concerns in the past, of one of which I can say, gaming was one of my coping strategies back then, particularly with depressive thoughts and feelings. And what was it about gaming that helped me with that? Well, I joined a bunch of people, and again, that same thing I described earlier with that young person, there was something self-esteem fulfilling within gaming, but equally I identified something I was good at, and actually kind of that gave me a good feeling, really. So yeah, according to Kimberly Young's, I could say I have an addiction of sorts. But I guess really the key of addiction is actually when it affects your day-to-day functioning, and I think that's really the kind of key kind of crux, really, of kind of when we determine something to be helpful or unhelpful, in a sense of actually when it starts to invade kind of certain aspects of your personal and social life. So a study done in the US in 2010 kind of put this questionnaire out to young people, and the response they kind of got was around, of a sample of 607 8th to 9th graders, which in UK equivalents are around 12, 13 years old, I believe. They said that 15% of those young people, so that would be 90 out of that 607 were classified to have an addiction. So, and of that addicted group, 80% of them were male. So that kind of shows kind of how it kind of tilts more to the male end of the spectrum. And so again, 50% there. In other studies, they've kind of shown 6% to be kind of pathological players. In Germany, there was a study that said 3.5%. But again, equally, then you've got two very culturally different kind of countries. A Norwegian study in 2013 kind of said, well, gaming addiction can be associated with other problems such as depression, increased in drinking, social disorders, conduct disorders, academic achievements and such, but then equally kind of had a number of other studies that kind of suggested otherwise, that actually the two aren't linked. The Norwegian study also found that the level of gaming does not necessarily mean, correspond to the level of difficulty. So if I played 30 hours in a week and developed conduct disorder, my conduct disorder may not be more or more severe than that someone who plays 15 hours a week. It's not proportional in that sense, but they said there may be some link. But really, as a discussion, they're kind of saying, well, actually, it could be the other way around. Again, we can't rule out that, again, people are drawn to these because for other reasons. And I guess that's kind of part of the thoughts about certain addictions as well, is that people are attracted to these things, these addictions, for whatever they may be, because it some way fills a need which is being missed in some way. So be it depression, be it for anxiety, be it for self-esteem, or just for distraction at the end of the day, just to escape and have something different, and and to experience a different world. But there is kind of other levels to this. I mean, we've got people who get married online, we've got people who have online relationships within the virtual world, and there seems to be kind of a point where there's almost an immersion, where reality and the virtual become almost kind of in sync with each other, and and people kind of are almost known by their gamer tags or their avatar names. I mean, that's certainly true for some of the guys I play with. We refer to each other as our gamer names rather than our real names, and it's just as natural to do so. So it's kind of an interesting kind of thought there, that actually that sometimes you almost kind of identify with your online characters. With the study that they kind of used in the Americas, they kind of said, well, girls aren't as unlikely to kind of develop these addictions, but boys seem to be more so. But again, they weren't completely kind of convinced and saying, yes, it's all boys. So again, it's kind of interesting that, again, well, what is it about boys? Or maybe again, it's just that certain kind of media, it's just a media of which we access more of for some reason. I think girls kind of have more social media, so Twitter, Instagram, and all this kind of stuff, which are equally highly addictive. You've only got to sit in a train station, bus stop, literally look down the queue of people beside you. I can guarantee that pretty much 80, if not 90% of people have some sort of electronic device in their hand, and that kind of just shows the levels of dependency that we've kind of built on these things. So, I guess what is the conclusion of this, really? Because the research out there kind of still saying, well, it's either or at the minute. It's not really solid enough to kind of say that gaming addiction is a core problem and actually responsible for a kind of another kind of load of other issues such as depression or anxiety and such, or actually whether it's a symptom or secondary cause of depression and things. So it's kind of jury's still out there. And I guess it's that, I mean, in my 6 years of working with mental health within young people, I still have not come across this yet as a presented issue. I do still see a lot of depression, anxiety, and kind of low self-esteem, particularly in my work, and I think particularly I find a lot of young people who spend a lot of time playing games, but will describe it as a method of, well, just kind of get through the day, really, to kind of just something to do. They come home and they want to switch off. They want to be rid of the the daily demands, and actually this is a very key thing now to our children's social development. Is actually now that the virtual world has become their social forum, and they are far more capable than that of probably my generation. Even a generation ahead of them, that they're kind of far more competent. I mean, this is kind of why I'm doing gaming movies along with this commentary, is because simply I don't have the skill to put links and URLs and widgets and all this kind of other stuff there. I just don't have that ability, because it's just not it's not naturally done within my generation. I don't think it's a thing that I've naturally learned. Whereas, there are 13, 14-year-olds who are massively more capable than I am at this stuff. And it's incredible. I saw a client of mine did some incredible artwork using a tablet, just using a general thing. There's a guy on Facebook, Jim will paint it, who uses the paint from the Microsoft brand, to create kind of brilliant kind of portraits and stuff. So there's, digital media is becoming a massive trend. We've got YouTube now. PewDiePie with 36 million subscribers. He's now, it's the world's kind of most subscribed being. And he's a national, he's a worldwide celebrity essentially. This guy is known for just videos largely on kind of indie games, but also just, he's expanded out to kind of other things. But he's huge. Twitch now. I was watching Lyric, who's a streamer. He had 24,000 people watching him play a game, and it kind of makes you think, that what's that about? What's it about watching someone else do it? Someone else more skilled, and it kind of almost kind of like that, role models, and that these people are now becoming for young people of our generation, that they aspire to achieve certain skill levels. We now have esports. We now have kind of almost virtual Olympics, where we've got people kind of earning hundreds of thousands of pounds and dollars through kind of sporting events where they're playing Dota, League of Legends, Counter-Strike, Heroes of the Storm, and other kind of these MOBA kind of types that are appearing. And they're walking away with 20 grand, or if not more. They're being sponsored by massive kind of gaming corporations and earning kind of thousands of pounds. We've got humble bundles that now are using gaming as a method of putting money towards charity, by developers kind of saying, right, well, let's get rid of some of our old stock, and and people will donate a bit towards charity. And it's brilliant, but it kind of just shows how much the virtual world is starting to kind of integrate with our day-to-day lives, and actually how there seems to be a kind of another level of something that we need to moderate. And actually be mindful of really of how it influences our lives. And I think the key thing is, I kind of saying, it really becomes a problem when I guess you started to notice that it's interfering with your day-to-day life. And I guess that's kind of where Jung's questionnaire kind of had a lot of kind of validity, particularly kind of when you're putting off things in order to play games, when you're actually lying and actually being secretive, when you are distracted and actually can't function in a day-to-day life without kind of fulfilling a need. And I think that's kind of when you maybe need to think, okay, there's a little bit of a problem here. So within the Americas there are kind of now clinics being set up for people experiencing computer addiction. I don't think necessarily yet in the UK we've got that, but particularly in America's, Netherlands, within I think Canada as well, there are clinics purposely set up where there are cognitive behavioural psychologists and hypnotherapists ready to treat these people with what they conceive to be a cognitive and behavioural disorder. And it's incredible that again this has become kind of so out of control, but equally kind of such something that could easily become massively prevalent and actually take over kind of the lives of young people really, and become kind of quite key to their lives. And it can only get worse because as technology improves, we're now talking about virtual reality, with the Steam machines and stuff like this coming out, with I'm trying to remember the name in it now, but the headsets when you place them over Oculus Rift, that's the one, where actually now there is a virtual reality. It's sensors on your movement, and there is now kind of a real science behind kind of getting this right. So there's kind of just another element of that immersion where actually you're kind of going another step in. And when I went to a game developers fair in London, there's some of the developers of the Oculus Rift technology, I think it's the HTC version though, were kind of saying, when I put this headset on, my body was almost convinced that I was fishing, and actually after 40 minutes of doing this movement, I kind of thought, I need to put this fishing rod down now. And actually they'd kind of thought, oh yeah, this fishing rod is not even in my hands, but I'm kind of now kind of in this kind of that engrossed into this reality that I'm now considering it. And that's kind of interesting that again your brain is so in tune and so kind of just will automatically go into it and absorb itself to that world. And it's incredible that this is kind of how technology is moving, and there's great potential for it. But again, with, not to quote Spider-Man, but with great potential, great power comes great responsibility. And I guess the responsibility is of the owner really, you know, any system can be abused, any system can be used outside of its intended limits. And people will mod and kind of create side programs and things to kind of use it in different ways. So I think, you know, it's something that still needs a bit more kind of awareness really, but it's particularly something that's kind of massive within our social structure. So yeah, I guess the conclusion of that really is that it's still a bit inconclusive really about kind of whether gaming addiction is kind of how prevalent it is, but it's certainly kind of it's very evident within kind of some of the studies that's there, but also kind of within our kind of day-to-day lives. So I want to say thank you again for being here to listen to this video and listen to a bit of my rant and boring monotone voice, which I know I'm going to have to improve at some point, but I guess, you know, I'm still getting used to doing this, and hopefully, I guess, as I hope this becomes a bit more of a popular feature really, and I get a kind of few more followers and things like this, and maybe I'll kind of be able to put a little bit more time into it and actually kind of get a bit of a system going really, because I still feel a bit kind of clumsy with it at the moment, and I'm still kind of finding my feet with it really. But I guess I still want to kind of highlight, you know, the passion that I have for this. So please kind of, you know, subscribe to the YouTube channel. There will be some Twitch streams coming up soon, so by all means kind of keep your eyes out. Follow me on Twitter, which will be a link in that in the description, and also please use the G2A rather ref link, as the proceeds from that will be going towards mental health charities, of which the first kind of primary two which I want to kind of support is Life Signs and a local charity which I work for in Yorkshire called Noah's Ark. So hopefully, you know, I appreciate your support, and please kind of subscribe, like, you know, because the more subscriptions I get, the more likelihood I have of monetizing kind of some of these videos, and then obviously, you know, giving some money towards charity, and that's kind of the key thing of why I'm doing this. So thank you again guys, and I hope to see you again soon.